Hi, Solomon. Glad to see you. Thank you for taking part after panel session on Korea Blockchain Week. And Aptos is one of the leaders in RWA tokenization. And what are the main challenges, what you see? Maybe technical, regulatory, or maybe people don't understand what real world assets is.
First of all, thanks for having me. It's great to meet you in person finally. See you a lot, digitally. So regarding RWAs, right now we have over 720 million of RWAs on Aptos, mostly private credit and money market funds. But what I anticipate is there's going to be just a lot more product diversification. Aptos wants to support commodities, public equity, all these different asset classes. We need to have them on chain so that they're accessible to our users, so they don't have to take their stable coins off of Aptos and then deployed into the traditional markets. So you're going to see a lot more diversification of products on Aptos. Also, in terms of challenges, I think really it comes down to like capital formation on the primary side. When you first bring an asset, all right, how do I broaden the market? How do I basically tap into pools of capital that are on chain? So we are working with a number of different partners around making sure that when anybody brings a RWA to Aptos, they at least have line of sight to raising capital in some capacity. And then later down the line, even secondary trading of that particular asset. And then another challenge is always, there's a learning curve whenever you're dealing with institutions and any issue of any product, to highlight the value proposition and so forth, and make sure you have that connectivity if it's a regulated product with the right regulated counterparties within each of the different jurisdictions.
Great. What personally think about future assets? What assets for tokenization is more interesting for users, for investors?
So I'm actually excited about what we're getting more unique products. For example, with Lotte. Lotte's tokenizing vouchers. Over the last 3 months, they've tokenized over 5 million different vouchers, and they've sold them to 1.3 million users. So this is a new asset class, right? People usually, when they think of vouchers, they don't think of an asset, right? They usually think of like equity or fixed income or just traditional assets. But I'm excited about these new assets, or IP, tokenizing IP, and then enabling different investors, retail investors, to participate in the upside, whether it's music royalty streams or artwork or whatever the case, but more creator-oriented assets. So I'm liking just the dynamic of really growing what we define as assets on chain.
Okay. And what the distinction between interest of institutional investors and investors from retail? And is it possible for retail investors to use same assets, buy same assets as institutional?
So really, when it comes to whether retail or institutions can participate, that's oftentimes dictated by who's bringing the asset to the market, because they may have their own requirements and their own appetite, whether they actually want retail to participate or not. So that's just at that base level. For example, BlackRock with their BUIDL fund, the minimum check size is very high to participate on that money market fund. And also they only allow for what's defined as accredited investors in the US to be able to even invest in it. So they've made an active decision to make that an institutional product. But I do think that there'll be both offerings, of course, are going to be available, whether it be institutional products or whether it be retail products. On the retail side, a lot of the creative assets I was mentioning, I think those are going to be targeted to more retail. And so whether it's music that's on chain, like in terms of the royalty streams, or whether it's IP, I think that's going to be heavily targeted toward a retail audience that's going to be very enthusiastic about it. But then on the institutional side, I think you're going to see a lot of public equity and all these other things that are also going to come on chain. But they already have access in most markets, but in some markets, it's harder to gain access to some of these products. And so I think the issue is going to really drive the decision of where it's accessible. I guess the only other caveat to that is some institutional products, like BlackRock's BUIDL fund, they're also offering basically derivatives of it, like SBIDL, that's permissionless, that could be actually interact with DeFi. And so there you'll find more fractionalization and a broader access of that particular asset.
And speaking about retail users, can retail user expect 10x or like in traditional meme tokens and other in real world assets?
I think there will be a slight bifurcation in terms of like meme tokens and equity. But the nice thing about Aptos or just blockchain in general is you can build as you please, right? You basically, right now, of course, we always like to highlight real-world applications in terms of things that are solving immediate problems. But it's a very exciting community when you think of meme coins and so forth. And we're big fans of NFTs and all these other different applications. And so really, it's going to be dynamic. I think it's going to have the full spectrum of assets are going to be on Aptos. And then people are going to be able to interact as they please with any of these particular assets.
Great. Global trading engine.
That's right. That's right.
And speaking about near future, what we can expect from Aptos in this real-world assets tokenization field? Maybe some alpha.
So you're right. We are hyper-focused on just being the global trading engine. And what that really means is trading, money movement, and data/infrastructure on chain. And so RWAs touch everything, right? Whether you think of like Decibel, that of course is a build that we're doing. That's obviously we want that to support a much broader range than a normal perp dex, and we want it to be inclusive of RWAs in some capacity. It may have to be synthetics for that particular purpose, so it's permissionless. Whether it's money movement, people don't usually think of stablecoins as RWAs, but most of them are backed by treasuries. So we're now doing 68 billion last month of stablecoin volume. So you're going to see that continue to grow. And then when you think of like data/infrastructure, we were very much focused on, for example, disclosure on chain, or intrinsic value on chain, like net asset value on chain, or Shelby, where you can actually put, creators could put actual, IP on chain and actually have that in that data system. So all these are complementary. It's very circular, right? They all complement one another to create that basically on-chain economy that we really want to pursue.
Great. Thank you for your time. Glad to see you in our video.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Take care.